and Computational Science, Chair of the 2018 Enrichment Program. I am honored to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Khaled Alrashed, CEO of Saudi Electricity Company for Projects Development. Khaled is an engineer by training. Soon after earning his degree in electrical engineering from KFUPM in 1994, Khaled joined ABB Automation, where he worked on power control and protection. Following an 11-year tenure at ABB, Khaled joined SEC, working in both engineering and project business lines. Khaled rose through the ranks at SEC and now serves as CEO and board member of SEPDC. Khaled also serves as board member of Al-Murjan for electricity production and of Green Saudi Company for carbon services. As part of his responsibilities at SEPDC, Khaled oversees a variety of initiatives involving problems that are closely aligned with the theme of our spring enrichment program, including smart grids, adaptable production and distribution, artificial intelligence, sensors, large-scale optimization, to name a few. I have been fortunate to get a small glimpse of Khaled's perspective on some of these topics during discussions over the past few weeks, and I'm very much looking forward to his keynote. Please join me in welcoming Khaled.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Professor Umar, for the introduction. First of all, I would like to express my honor and a pleasure to be with you here to deliver a speech about the future city. It's a great opportunity for me. KAUST is first time that I have visited KAUST was almost like a year and a half. And the moment I have been with the university, I fell in love with the university. I like the university. Being responsible for the research and development and innovation within the company, we do have a very great and excellent communication with the university, especially with the innovation. We're doing great, and I hope that we will be doing even more initiatives with the university, utilizing the great resource. KAUST is one of the I would say, great resources within the kingdom, and I hope that we will do more, Professor Umar, in the future. To start my presentation today, let's talk about the future smart city. By the way, I have changed the presentation. It used to be, or it was, future cities. I have added the future smart cities. And what will be the role of the utilities to support the quality of the urban living? I think we do a major let's say, part of the smart cities, and you'll be seeing this during the course of this presentation. I'd like to introduce the company from the vision, mission, and some quick figures about our operations, the SIC value chain. Basically, our vision, we serve our customers and country by delivering world-class power services. Our mission, we power the kingdom that energizes the world. Basically, Saudi Arabia is one of the largest oil producers, and we do enjoy the sun radiation, and I think you have heard, or maybe some of you heard about the initiatives or the MOU signed between His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, with SoftBank to deploy the 200,000 megawatts, and that's a large installation, will be the largest in the world. And I hope that Saudi Arabia will become the power or the battery of the world that will be able to export the solar energy. Quick figures about the company, the SIC value chain. So it's Saudi Electricity Company. We do have almost like 80,000 megawatts of power generation connected to the grid. And we do have like about 10,000 megawatts to be commissioned in the coming 18 months. We have we have a very strong transmission system. We have almost more than 80,000 kilometers of extra high voltage and high voltage network. We do have more than 1,000 substations, the transformers, more than 3,000 transformers, and we do have a very strong and well-connected fiber optic network. We have more than 600,000 kilometers of distribution network, more than 500,000 of transformers. We serve or we provide the energy and or the electricity to more than 13,000 villages or cities and villages. And our e-services, almost like 95% of the services that we are offering are e-services. All of that to serve our great customers. We have more than 9 million customers, and every year we are adding almost like 500,000 new customers. Now, going back or going to our main presentation, the future smart cities. Wellington Webb, the mayor of Denver, said the 19th century was a century of the empires. And 20th century is the century, or was the century, of the nations. And the 21st century will be the century of cities. I think we do have a challenge. By 2030, 60% of the global population will live in cities. And that's a challenge. Creating high quality of living in cities is the challenge of the century. And it is the challenge of everyone here, all of us, including the utilities. So what we will be doing, what are the solutions that we will be offering to our cities to make our cities smart, to become the future, to enable the 60% of the global population to live in the cities. Basically, cities are facing 8 challenges, and I'll start with the first challenge is the traffic congestion. Reduces urban, basically mobility and general comfort of public spaces. That's one of the challenges. Another challenge is the air pollution. Causes fatal illnesses, especially for children and pregnant women. We have the CO2 emissions. Unfortunately, the utilities is a big contributor to the emissions. SEC is one of the contributors to the CO2 emissions, and we hope that with the renewable energy, we will be able to reduce the emissions. Crime rates continue to be a significant obstacle of the quality. Water scarcity is growing, unfortunately, due to the infrastructure limitations and shrinking resources. It's a fact. That's a fact we are facing now. Excessive waste volumes are a threat to urban environments, public health, and urban comfort. Population density, it's a challenge, but it's an opportunity for us. Keep rising and creating challenges, especially for the logistics. Extreme weathers, events increase from both sides, cold and hot weathers. Now, these are the 8 challenges. Now, what are the solutions that we will be offering to such challenges? Not only the utilities, I think all of us. KAUST is one of the enablers or one of the contributors to the solutions. And I think some of these solutions you have seen or you know about or you are aware of. Talking about the traffic congestion, what could be the solution for the traffic congestion, for instance? Any ideas? Yes, indeed. Autonomous cars and public transportation. Now, this is a trend we have seen now in some of the neighboring countries. We have seen the self-driving cars, and we think with the introduction of the self-driving cars, we will be more efficient, and we will be having more, let's say, less trips with more passengers. I think that's the key here. What does that mean? It means efficiency in our times. So we can utilize our time in a much more efficient way. Air pollution. What is the solution of the air pollution? Electric vehicles. So this is another challenge now to the electric vehicles. For us, it's an opportunity for us, actually. It's for any electricity company, any power generation company, it is an opportunity because that will increase the load. And we hope to see the electric vehicles, the deployment. And here in Saudi Arabia, we wish to see it soon. CO2 emission, distributed generation and smart grid. That will be a solution. Renewable, basically. Crime rates, predictive policing. Water scarcity. Smart water management, basically will avoid losses and increases efficiency and consumptions. Excessive waste, intelligent waste collection, population density. We'll be having the urban production, the 3D printing, and the vertical farming facilities. Then the last challenge that we're having is the extreme weather, and that will be with efficient cooling and heating. Ensures comfortable temperatures in energy efficient way. That basically the district cooling. Today, talking about the smart cities, today we're having more than 250 smart cities globally to be launched. These are plans. In Europe alone, there is about 84 cities, Middle East 31 cities, Asia Pacific about 74, North America around 46, and the Latin America about 17. We have examples, the Smart Dubai, we have the Barcelona, we have Scotland, we have India, we have the Hong Kong, and the Amsterdam, which is one of the good examples of the smart cities. Now, the future smart city, a highly connected urban space. You see that we have smart buildings. That's the concept behind the smart city. We should have the smart buildings, smart social, the smart transport, smart water and waste, smart energy, and smart city, the information and communication technology infrastructure. Now, these are the main dimensions. Now, what utilities can do to provide the crucial solutions for the future smart cities? We start with the rooftop PV. Now, we hope that with the decreased price in the PV and the free fall, we have seen now new prices for the industrial scale PV. And we hope that with the coming few years, couple of years, 2 or 3 years, we will be seeing the rooftop PV at least going with a very low price, 2 cents, which will help the deployment within at least Saudi Arabia. I know elsewhere it is economically viable to install the rooftop, but here within Saudi Arabia, with the subsidies that we are enjoying, the electricity, even with the increase in the tariff, for the time being, it's not economical for some of the consumers, but I think in the coming 2 or 3 years from today, we will be seeing that much more. Decentral storage, that's another smart solution. Intelligent grid, a grid that currently our grid, especially with the distribution, it's almost like 2-3% automated. So to move to the intelligent grid, we have to convert or we have to do a lot of sensors, a lot of automated devices, and this is a big opportunity for all of us, including you, to think of smart, simple, easy solution to help the company to convert the existing conventional grid into a smart grid. And that will contribute to the smart city. We have fiber to home. There is an initiative by the government, and SEC is part of this initiative to connect the fiber to the home, and that will help to aid the communication between the smart home and the grid and the other services that we can or other services provider to provide through the strong and fast network. We have the smart home, it's another potential, district cooling, and the EV charging stations. This is the electric vehicle charging stations. Last but not least is the electric vehicle cloud storage. Now, these are the solutions to be, or the utilities that can provide for the future smart city. Now, what SEC is pursuing for the time being, we have several initiatives around the future smart city. We start with the grid automation and self-healing grid investments. I think this is very great opportunity for, as I said, for the innovators to participate, to think of solutions that will help making the grid automation cheap, and we can have the grid automation deployment to help the smart city development. The smart meter, the Saudi electricity company does have an initiative to install 2.5 million of smart meters. And we hope that we will be starting the deployment by the third quarter of this year. And that will definitely help the smart city initiative. Fiber to home, that's one of the initiatives that we are working with now. Distributed generation, we want to be enabler for the DG, and I think we can play a big role in this part. District cooling, pilots and scale-up being advanced. E-mobility, the strategy to lead charging infrastructure, we have started the discussion, and we have finalized, or we have signed an agreement with, or MOU with TIBCO, one of the leading Japanese utility, to install a couple of EV chargers, fast chargers, and we have signed another agreement with Nissan to provide SEC with 3 electric vehicles to start the pilot implementation and to be ready for the future smart city. Now, Saudi Arabia is embarking on several future cities. We have the Qiddiya, the entertainment city. We have the Red Sea. We have the King Abdullah economic city. We have King Abdullah, the financial central, and the knowledge economic city in Medina. Now, where do we rank our cities? Riyadh, the great Riyadh. The Smart Cities Index, Copenhagen is ranked the first. And basically, if you see now, if you do a comparison between what Copenhagen enjoys and Riyadh, I think there will be a lot of potential for all of us to convert and to start the deployment for Riyadh and Jeddah. Jeddah actually is not even in the index itself, so unfortunately. So I think that will be a great opportunity for all of us to see Riyadh being in the 99th ranking to the 10th, let's say, and I think that will help or will lead to big installations, especially with the sensors, utilizing the applications, utilizing the Internet of Things, the artificial intelligence. I think there are a lot of things we could do, and with the help of the universities and the innovators, we will be achieving that. It's very simple. I think very simple, but it requires a lot of will and desire to move forward, and the participation of the citizens. By the way, the smart cities, without the participation of the citizens, it will not be smart. I mean, if you see Amsterdam, for instance, it is one of the smartest city, but the key success for Amsterdam to be a smart city is the participation of the citizens. So citizens are an important part of any move from the conventional one to the smart city. We have drawn a very nice picture of how the smart city will be. This is the smart home. This is how we see the smart home. It will be, you could see the batteries, you see the vertical plants. You see the solar, the car being charged. You see, this is the smart city, how it will look like, the communication for the information. You see the drones. This is the solar panels installed, and we have the backup, the conventional gas turbine. You see, this is the manufacturing again with the renewable energy, the wind, the battery there, the ease of communication. And this is the telecommunication and how we could use the augmented realities for the providing the services. So that's in a nutshell the concept of the smart city. And I think with the utilities efforts and with the especially Saudi Electricity Company being smart, efficient, and customer-centric, we will be able to support the initiative. We will be able to participate, and we will be able to help our customer, our society, to convert our cities into smart cities. As I said, it needs the participation of all of us to be active participants and share the ideas, share the challenges, think of what we could do, develop the required apps, and I think by doing so, we will be able to convert the cities from being conventional, normal cities into smart cities. By this slide, I conclude my presentation, and I'll be more than happy to receive your questions and interactions, and thank you very much.
All right, caught it again. Thank you very much for a very interesting and stimulating presentation. I particularly like the idea of district cooling and the energy mix, but I keep on failing to see geothermal energy as a potential power supplier or supplier of district cooling without electricity. It would be a great method to save electricity by using direct heat conversion for district cooling. What is your opinion on this, and how come there's so little traction on the geothermal development around here?
Thank you, sir, for the question. A very interesting question. You know, it's all about economics. When we do any installation of any power generation, what will be the economics? If the economics works, then definitely the project will move forward. Today we see that, I'm not sure if you have heard about the prices, the recent prices of the solar, for instance. Solar in free fall. The prices, the latest price that we have received is about 1.78 cent per kilowatt. You just imagine the price. It's never been, even we never dreamt of such price. We thought this price will be, let's say, by 2023, 24, but now we have seen in reality. Now, to compete with the solar, it's the challenge for the geothermal. Geothermal, yet potential energy available, green, and but to retrieve it, I think that's the key question here. I know in Medina, there are some potential sites there in Medina. We've been approached by some of the companies. We're doing preliminary study now just to explore the opportunities, and hopefully, if the economics works, we will definitely make use of all the available renewable resources. There is no limit to use. I mean, there is no instructions or limits or that will stop us from using any resources that will contribute to the improving the efficiency. So it's all about economics. And as I said, we're having now one of the companies, we are in the initial talks. I hope to see such energy, such projects in my country. As I said, we are open. I just want to share with you one information. Have you heard of SAS? The SAS project. Okay, this is actually a project. It's between King Saud University and SEC. SAS stands for Sand, Air, and Sun. So what we do actually, we store the energy of the sun into the sand. We heat the sand, and once we heat the sand, we store basically the heat into the sand. Then we heat air, and the heated air will be driving a normal gas turbine. This is an excellent. We have started the implementation of this project. It's a unique in the world, and we own the technology along with King Saud University. We've been approached by Sandia Lab in USA to deploy or to start such initiative there in USA, and hopefully that we will be successful. We will be hearing the news, inshallah, during the coming few months, in the news that Saudi Arabia is leading in the SAS, and we will start to deploy such technology outside Saudi Arabia.
Dr. Badr al-Shamri, thank you for a nice and important presentation. I have just 3 small points. First one, you talk about the air pollution, one of the solution, electrical vehicles. What about the factories, especially chemical factories or like that? The second one, what do you mean by smart social? I mean, it's from electrical point of view or social? And the third one, or last one, what about the Vision 2030 about the Saudi electricity company for sustainable energy? I mean, in the percent of sustainable energy in this time, 2030, for renewable energy or nuclear for SEC. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with the Vision 2030 vision. Okay, SEC, part of the vision. SEC is an enabler to a lot of initiatives within the 2030 vision. Definitely one of the initiative is the renewable energy. The deployment of the renewable energy will depend very much heavily on SEC existing infrastructure and the future infrastructure that we will build, especially with the transmission network. So we will be able, or we are the enabler, and we have to be part of this initiative, as I said, from the network point of view and from the distribution point of view. We have to find the right location, we have to find the right injection point that will make the energy cheap. It's meaningless if you just go and install energy because of the radiation. You should install the panels where you find the energy generation there. Now, 2030, I said, the kingdom is shifting to from the hydrocarbons. We have to stop burning liquid. Today we're burning almost like 1.3 million barrel per day. It's like 50%. This is equivalent, 50% liquid and 50% gas. I think that's really a big waste that we have to retrieve, and we have to stop immediately, and that will help SEC even to become green, to reduce the emission. So, and as I said, His Royal Highness signed the MOU with SoftBank to deploy, to start, or to study, or to implement the 200,000 megawatt, and by 2030. So that's really a big number, and that's really a huge installation to be done here in Saudi Arabia. And I think this is part of the vision. For the smart social, it's you, it's me, how we communicate with the smart city. It's I think the aids of communication, how much we could communicate, that will help our life actually. I don't have a specific example, but it's you, how you interact. It's your car, it's your home. It's everything that we make the communication easy to simplify our life. I was talking with Marilu about the stress. You could see the smart city should actually help you in reducing the stress. Just imagine that if you want to go to your home and you select the simplest, the shortest, the easiest way, and which will tell you the routes or a lot of things. You just eliminate the congestion. I think social is how much you react with the smart city. We cannot force you to change your house into a smart house. So it's an investment that you have to do. So you can communicate and make use of the smart city. Now, for the chemical, I'm not sure if I have got your or I understood the question well. If you just want to repeat the question about the chemical factories, what is that? Pollution, yes, yeah.
Electrical vehicles, but what about the factories, chemical factories? It's more effect than the cars like that for pollution.
Oh, definitely, definitely. If you talk about the air pollution, I think factories we have to have more stringent regulations, and I think the Ministry of Environment and Water they are developing now developing the regulations, and I think there must be hefty fines if you are not implementing, and if there is any emission beyond the limits, I think there must be some charges, and even if this leads to the closure of the factories, I think we have to adhere to the rules and regulations, and hopefully that I see that the Ministry of Environment will start to implement such regulations. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Can you describe a little bit more the research portfolio of Saudi Electric Company? You mentioned, for example, a generation project, the SAS.
Yeah.
There are many other very important projects in terms of control of a grid if you have intermittent sources or if people are dumping their own PV back into the grid, and all kinds of optimization problems with respect to placement of wind or solar. Do you have in-house PhDs working on these problems, or do you establish research relationships with in-kingdom universities or commercial consultants? How is the overall strategy being formed on some of these very difficult, technological issues?
Well, great question. I received today a call from Umar Bakhsh. He was asking me if we can develop a kind of cooperation to make use of the big Shaheen that you're having here in KAUST. And I said, well, we do have big data. We have a lot of information. We do generate
valuable data.
Yeah, we do generate. I know how big is this data from the computer point of view. I mean, what is the? But I know that we have a lot of data, and thinking of such, I would say, part, if we just can implement a kind of algorithm which can predict what will be the load, where we can plan our generation resources, we can produce the energy from the least and the cheap, and this only can be done with KAUST. And as I said, I have received the call today. But I'll just give you an example, a brief about what we do actually. Today, we were working with KAUST for the combustion lab, and I had a discussion with Bill about what will be the future of the fuel that we'll be using, and we have to consider the kingdom shifting from the hydrocarbons into another, the renewables and other fuels. So we have to now, let's say, change the needle to where the country or the policymaker is asking us to start. So with King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, we're doing the fuel combustion lab. With King Saud University, we're doing the SAS project, that specifically with King Saud University, with KAXT, the King Abdulaziz Science and Technology City. We're basically doing the distribution automation. We are thinking of solutions. Today I had the pleasure to describe one of the great apps that we have developed actually, using the artificial intelligence concepts by the image processing. And today we're having the conventional meters. And the conventional meters basically, we should have a reader who goes there and enter the reading, and it's very complicated. So you could imagine the quality of reading and so on and so forth. We thought that why we do not develop a lab, an app, utilizing the smart applications, utilizing the artificial intelligence. Very simple, basic concept or basic function of the artificial intelligence is the image processing. So we just take picture, we process the picture into numbers, and we send the reading to the system, then we are sure that we're having the accurate reading and will help. That we are doing it with King Abdulaziz Science and Technology City. With the King Fahd University, we have another center there, and where we have an installation for the real-time dynamic simulation. We have, I think, about 10 TDS, the largest in the world, and we do the dynamic simulation. So we have reflected our network exactly. There is a replica within the RTDS, and we do all kinds of simulation. Also, I have missed, with King Abdulaziz Science and Technology, we have a program, not a program, a project with EDF, building the concept grid. There is a city, small city, where this concept grid, basically it's a typical city where we do the simulation. If you want to introduce the PV, at least the rooftop, we do the simulation and we make sure that this will not impact the grid, and the grid will not impact the house or the small PV. So in a nutshell, yes, we do have the study, and for the introduction of the 200,000 megawatts, I think we have to work with King Abdullah University and the King Fahd University, with the two centers, to make sure that we do the right analysis, utilizing the Shaheen capability with the data that we're having. I think we can do a lot of load flow study, a smart one that will make sure that we do have the optimum load flow within the network and make use of all the energy generated by the sun and storing it in the right way and right place. So yes, indeed, we're having the centers. And the last thing about the R&D, again, I was talking with Professor Umar. We in the CC, we do not have the R&D. We try to do it in a smart way. We do manage the R&D rather than doing the R&D. We have a couple of engineers, a couple of researchers available in the universities, just to make sure that the know-how and knowledge, and to share with researchers here within the universities their experiences. So they are giving their technical experience to enable the researcher to understand the problem more and to make sure that we will be having the right solution. So I hope
Thank
that I have answered your
very
question.
comprehensive answer.
Salam.
Was very great speech, thank you. As a grid building idea and process, is there a benefit in Saudi Arabia to be used in the future and adding value? Any plan for Saudi electricity to think about green building and use it to reduce cost and resource in the future? This is my point. Anything about green building?
Green building.
Yes.
Okay. We have now construction of our head office, the new head office that's located in Riyadh, and part of the energy that will be generated by the PV. So yes, indeed, we are utilizing the PV to generate part of the energy. Still, we need a lot of energy from the network, but part of that will be used by the will be generated by the PV. So that's to answer the question about the green. We have started a program where we will be generating some of the energy within some of the large complex of SEC, like the Eastern Province. We have started the generation of PV for small facilities. So the small facility is self-sufficient. So it is generating the electricity by the PV, and we don't need to connect to the network. Another program, we're having it with Jeddah. So yes, we have started the implementation, but in a small scale. Now, one of the initiatives that we are working with King Abdulaziz City, the Science and Technology City, we have implemented one project in Layla Al-Aflaj. It's a 10 megawatts solar plants or solar power plant. Basically, the whole city is all the lights basically is being connected with the solar system. So that's one of the cities that we have started with, and we are thinking to deploy more more small-scale projects with the PV. Small scale still will help in doing the research from our side to understand the reaction between the PV as a system and our network. So that's with the green energy. Any other part or?
But my other point is,
Yeah.
Is it add value to use it in Saudi Arabia to reduce costs, or we don't need it?
Yes,
because
indeed.
I heard a lot of research around the world, and there was, for the last 3-4 years, loads of people asking and wondering if
You mean
that's
the cost?
technology as a green building will be in Saudi or not.
The green building.
A green building technology process. So that's
When,
benefit and add
when
value.
you say green building, what does that mean? Do you mean the energy itself, the green building as a, or you talk about the smart building, or how is it? Is it a green building means?
As a green building process to reduce the cost for electricity.
Yeah,
Side.
so the green building, it might be the scale. The small scale PV might not be cost efficient now. But I'm seeing now the prices of the PV is in free fall. If you see 2 years ago and the price of today, it's almost like 50%. I don't know if you have heard about the prices that opened for Skaka project 6 months ago. It was 1.78 cent per kilowatt. So can you imagine? 1.78. So this is almost like less than 7 halala. So this is really a great achievement now. This is utility scale. It's a 300 megawatt. But if you think about smaller scale, I think still it is expensive. The renewable energy, one major part that we have to think of is the battery or the storage. Now there must be a breakthrough in the battery. Okay, once we have this, if there is any disruption with the disruption of the technology, and if we can have a very cheap storage, I think the solar will just move forward in a very fast pace, and you will see the green energy everywhere in the world, in each and every building. One important thing here, the efficiency of the panel. The panel, the 1 meter by 1 meter, used to produce, I don't know, long time back, about maybe 100 watts. Today, the same panel can produce up to 400 watts. It's almost like 4 times with the same space. So you see, and the price going down. So it's double impact here. You have the price going down and the efficiency is increasing. And there is a new technology called the bifacial, where you could do even more energy. So you will capture the energy even from the ground. So both that will lead to another reduction in the prices. So it will be actually like the price of the soil, the processing, and that's it. And it is very cheap, available everywhere in the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for it.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for the interesting talk. Good to see how interested SEC is in all of these smart technologies. My question is related to what the previous gentleman said. I was wondering to what extent SEC is interested in demand response and dealing with meeting energy supply, not by creating new capacity, but by reducing the required load, and maybe even just shifting the load from peak loads. Is this something which the SEC is also actively working on?
Very smart question. Yes, indeed, we do. Normally, we were actually, we never thought, I wouldn't say we never thought, the problem of not having the smart meters, that was one of the issues. You cannot really control the demand. Now, with the smart meters, installation deployment, I think that will help in shifting the demand. And if we have the variable tariff and that use of time of use, that will really help to shift but these are all initiatives. But talking about the demand supply, I think we're talking with, or we are doing a research with King Abdulaziz for the distribution to think of the solutions that we can deploy from helping the or analyzing the load, understanding the nature of the load, and by that we can shift. To be frank, 3 years ago it was a problem for us because the growth was going in a fast pace. It was like 10%. In 2015, the growth was 10%. It was really high, and we were thinking that this is going to be really a problem for SEC because we were just investing money to meet the load. And since 2015, we were thinking of how to control the demand itself, and controlling the demand, shifting the demand, shaving the peak. That's the solution to make sure that. But you know, this is a kind of temporary solution. It's a solution, but if the growth going to be 10% every year, the demand will not really help because you will just shave the part of the demand. But we're lucky now. The growth went down less than 3%. It's a normal growth, and we have installed a lot of capacity that enough for the future. And nonetheless, in some of the congested area, I think we need the solution. So solution is welcomed, and if you have any ideas, good ideas you want to share with us, you are most than welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You mentioned the e-mobility with Nissan in particular.
Yeah.
I will be soon a driver, inshallah. So I would like to know a little bit more about the time frame of this project.
Okay, our project basically is a pilot project, but still we need to see the regulations, and I think the Ministry of Trade and the organization ISO, اللي هي SASU, the Saudi Arabian Standard Organization, they have to issue the regulations for the cars because you have to have rules and guides and standard for such cars. I think so far this has not been in place. I hope that to see this very soon, and I think they will initiate this the moment that the EV cars become viable, become more economic to drive. Today, the cost of the EVs is a bit high because of the batteries. Batteries is expensive. So, but I think in the future, batteries will be cheaper, and that will drive the EVs. To answer the questions, our project is a pilot project just to be ready for the chargers installations and to see the behavior of the EVs, behavior of the charger, and for Nissan, basically to understand the behavior of the EVs within Saudi Arabia and what will be the charging time and how the performance of the EVs within the kingdom. You know, Nissan is #1 worldwide in the EVs. So this project is for both companies, or let's see, the 3 companies, TEPCO, Nissan, and Saudi Electricity Company. So to answer the question, I don't know when. Hopefully, the moment we see the rules, I think and if there is any demand and if there is any green cautious people like you will drive, I think that will definitely drive the market and more cars. But the most important thing, if we have the regulations, then you can import your own car. I mean, especially if you are in the campus, in the King Abdullah University, if you are just driving very few kilometers here, or maybe you are going to Jeddah, I think it will be great if you are interested. Once we have the regulations, you can import your own car, and you don't need the fast charger because you just need to, I think it's 80 kilometers to Jeddah, and normally the batteries will last for, I think, 400 kilometers. So that will be great at least to start the car and start within KAUST. Such initiative will be a great initiative, actually.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
You mentioned already that the problem of the existing generation that we are burning a huge amount of liquids, and I expect that you mean oil, right?
True.
Okay, because of this problem, we have a huge amount of pollution to the environment.
True.
Is there any plan or a study to replace this process, the small process, not to replace all this generation process by PV, but including this renewable energy from the PV to heat up, for example, the water by using electrical heater. I'm not talking about the old style of heater, talking about, for example, induction heater, which is more efficient than the old style. So in this case, we are replacing the problem of the pollution, and we will be green, for example, at least for the day. Is there any plan or project for this idea?
You mean for the utilizing the PV or this,
Yes.
not PV, the concentrated solar to generate steam, and the steam will drive the steam
Exactly.
turbine.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
I'll tell you, we do have two projects actually. One, the Green Diba, or Diba Green, that's in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. It's a combined cycle plant. It's the largest in the world to integrate the integrated solar with combined cycle plants. The efficiency there, we achieve almost like 60+% efficiency. So this is the first project. And we have another project in the northeast of Saudi Arabia called Wa'ad Shamal. It's a 1,400 megawatts plants, combined cycle plants, where we integrate the integrated solar with combined cycle plants. So we have two projects, but that's not answering your question. Your question is to use the solar. I think it's expensive. So far, if you see the cost of the integrated solar, I think the cost there almost like $4,000 per kilowatt, per kilowatt, and this is a huge cost. Instead of doing so, if we have the gas available here in Saudi Arabia, we have a very cheap gas that can be used not for the industry. You know, there are two different gas. I think the methane can be used for the power generation. It's cheap, or let's say poor from the gas or to the chemical process. So we can use this gas actually to generate power. And we can generate power with 60% efficiency, still cheap energy. However, still PV, again to PV. Saudi Arabia is now moving to the PV. PV is becoming a very cheap, very unavailable, and we enjoy here from the geographical point of view. If you see Neom, for instance, and if you see the northwest part of Saudi Arabia, the best location in the world. If you just go and see the heat map, the radiation map, you see that Saudi Arabia enjoys one of the best locations and best radiation, which will enable and will help basically to generate cheap power. But again, we need the batteries. So batteries is a very important part that will keep the energy from renewable, at least during the off-peak and the nighttime, somehow expensive. Still cheaper than the solar and generation steam from the solar.
Hello. As far as I understood, and as you said right now, you're focusing on solar. What about, for example, aeolic, or getting energy from the sea, from the movement of the water in the sea, or some other, aeolic, why not?
The wind.
Yeah, wind.
Yeah, there is a project now, 400 megawatts project with RIBDU, the Renewable Energy Program Office. I think we'll be receiving the bid very soon, 400 megawatts. It's a large scale wind. But still, nothing is competing with the solar so far. Yeah, solar is when you see the resources, when I talk about the resources of Saudi Arabia here, it's all about economics. Economics will decide, will play the role, will drive the technology. So if you have a cheap source, or if you have the sources and you have the cheap technology, if you couple them together, then that's it. That's the best combination. So we have the cheap, we have the available source, we have the cheap technology, and I think we can generate the energy with the cheapest solution. One of the gentlemen here was asking about the geothermal. Geothermal is very, it's still a resource, but if you compare it with the solar, it is much more expensive. I totally agree with what you have said. Your comment is valid. When I'm talking from utility point of view, and I have shareholders behind me, I have, to generate the energy with the cheapest. However, I have two hats. I'm having the R&D hat. This is the reason why I'm starting the discussion with one of the companies, and we want to implement. I hope that we have this. By the way, SAS is not cheap. SAS is a very expensive solution still. But I hope that we start this deployment of one of the solutions with CAUS or any of the companies, any of the universities that will help us in deploying a solution. And why not? That will be a great opportunity for SEC and for CAUS and other universities. So your comments is valid, and I think we have to work in that field, in that dimension, to enable the deployment of the geothermal. Yes, indeed. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khaled. This has been a very interesting presentation and a quite stimulating dialogue afterwards. I think we have to stop here. Let's have another round of thanks for Mr. Khaled and his presentation.
Thank you. Shukran.